Hey there, welcome back to English in Fluency, the place where your listening skills grow a little stronger every single day. I'm Alex, and honestly, I'm really glad you clicked on this video, because today we're going to work on something that trips up so many English learners, even ones who already understand a lot. We're talking about the small words and phrases that native speakers use to introduce examples. You know, those little signals like, for example, like, such as, say, imagine, and a bunch of others we're going to explore together. These tiny expressions are everywhere in real conversations, and if you don't catch them, you can completely lose the thread of what someone is explaining to you. So stick with me, because by the end of this episode, your ear is going to be tuned into these signals like never before, and you'll start noticing them in movies, in podcasts, in conversations with your friends, everywhere. Before we jump into the story for today, let me just explain quickly why this matters so much. Imagine you're listening to a friend describe their weekend, and they say something like this. I tried a bunch of new foods this weekend. Take sushi, for instance. I'd never had it before. If you don't catch that little phrase, for instance, you might think sushi is just some random extra detail, when really, your friend is using it as a clear example of the new foods they tried. Once you learn to hear these signal words, the whole structure of what people are saying becomes so much clearer. You start to understand not just the words, but the shape of the idea. And that, my friend, is a huge part of what fluent listening really is. Okay, let's get into today's story. I want you to picture two friends, Maya and Thomas. They've known each other since university, and now, years later, they're sitting in a small coffee shop on a rainy afternoon, catching up after not seeing each other for almost 6 months. Maya just moved to a new city for a new job, and Thomas is visiting her for the very first time. As you listen to their conversation, try to catch every time one of them signals that an example is coming. I'll pause here and there to point things out, but try to catch them yourself first, okay? Let's listen. Thomas leans back in his chair, wraps both hands around his warm cup, and says, So, tell me everything. How's the new city treating you? Is it what you expected? Maya laughs a little and shakes her head. Honestly, it's been a mix. Some things are amazing, and some things are, let's say, a bit of a challenge. Did you catch that? Let's say, right there was her way of preparing to give an example. It's such a natural, casual way that English speakers introduce something without sounding too formal. Tomas leans forward, curious now. Okay, give me an example. What's been the biggest challenge? Maya thinks for a second, tapping her fingers on the table. Well, the transportation system here is confusing, for one thing. Like, yesterday, I tried to take the metro to a job interview, and I ended up on the completely wrong line. Notice two signals in that one sentence. First, for one thing, which tells you an example or a specific reason is coming. And right after that, she uses like in the middle of her sentence, almost as a bridge before she gives the actual story. This is something that happens constantly in spoken English. People don't always use one clean signal word. Sometimes they stack a couple of them together, almost like they're thinking out loud and preparing you for the detail that's about to come. Thomas laughs, clearly picturing the scene. Oh no, what happened? Were you late? Maya groans and covers her face with her hands. I was almost 40 minutes late. I had to call the office and explain everything. It was mortifying. Tomas nods sympathetically. That sounds rough. But hey, besides the metro thing, is there anything else that's been hard? You mentioned some things being a challenge, plural. Maya takes a sip of her coffee before answering. Yeah, actually. Take grocery shopping, for instance. Everything is labeled differently here. The sizes are different. Even simple stuff like buying eggs took me 20 minutes because I didn't know how many were in a carton. Right there. Take grocery shopping, for instance. That's a beautiful, clean example of how English speakers introduce something they want to highlight. This structure, take something, for instance, is incredibly common, especially when someone wants to give you a specific, clear example to support what they just said in general. If you hear someone start a sentence with the word take, followed later by for instance or for example, your brain should immediately go, okay, here comes a concrete example of what they were just talking about. Thomas nods, clearly following along. That actually makes a lot of sense. When I moved to my current apartment, I had a similar experience with grocery stores here too. Everything just felt unfamiliar for the first few weeks. Maya smiles, feeling understood. Exactly. But you know, it's not all bad. There are some really great things too. Like the food scene here, for example. It's incredible. There's this one street near my apartment with restaurants from all over the world. Again, look at that. Like and for example, showing up close together. This happens so often in natural speech. Native speakers rarely stick to just one textbook phrase. They mix and match, sometimes even in the same sentence, and that's exactly why listening practice like this is so valuable. You need to get used to hearing these signals in messy, real, human ways, not just in perfect, clean textbook sentences. Thomas's eyes light up. Oh, now you're talking my language. Give me some specific examples of the food. I need recommendations for tonight. Maya laughs and starts counting on her fingers. Okay, so there's this small Vietnamese place 2 blocks from here. Incredible figo, seriously. Then there's a Turkish bakery, and I'm talking about the kind of pastries that make you close your eyes when you take a bite. And if you want something more casual, there's a taco truck that parks outside my office every Thursday. Notice here, Maya doesn't use a signal word every single time. Sometimes speakers just list examples one after another without repeating, for example, every time, because the listener already understands from context that these are all examples of great food. This is important for you to notice too, because sometimes the signal comes once, at the beginning, and then a whole list follows without any more signal words at all. Thomas is practically bouncing in his seat now. Okay, we are absolutely going to that taco truck if it's still there tomorrow. But wait, go back to the challenges for a second. You said transportation and grocery shopping were hard. Was there anything about the actual job that surprised you? Something you didn't expect at all? Maya's expression changes slightly, becoming more thoughtful. Actually, yeah. There's this one thing that really caught me off guard. Picture this. My first week, my manager asked me to lead a meeting with almost no warning, like maybe 2 hours' notice. Picture this is another wonderful signal phrase, and it's a little more vivid and dramatic than some of the others. When someone says, picture this, they're inviting you to imagine a specific scene or example in your mind, almost like they're painting a picture with words. It's commonly used when someone wants their example to feel more real, more alive, more memorable to the listener. Thomas widens his eyes. 2 hours? That's brutal. What did you do? Maya sighs, remembering. I basically just prepared as fast as I could and hoped for the best. It actually went okay, but that kind of thing keeps happening. Say, for example, last week they asked me to present quarterly numbers to executives I had never even met before. There's say, for example, again, another very natural spoken way that people introduce a supporting detail. This phrase, say, for example, is used constantly in casual conversation, and it's almost interchangeable with let's say, or simply, for example, but it has that extra little conversational flavor that makes it sound relaxed and unplanned, like the speaker just thought of the perfect example on the spot. Thomas shakes his head in disbelief. That's intense. Honestly, though, it sounds like you're handling it really well. Maya smiles, a little proud of herself. I think so too, actually. It's been tough, don't get me wrong, but I'm learning so much. Take confidence, for example. I used to hate public speaking, and now I've done it, I don't know, probably 10 times in the past 2 months alone. Once more, take confidence, for example, shows up, and I want you to notice something here. This phrase, structure, take something, for example, works really well when someone wants to shift from a general idea, like personal growth, into one specific, clear illustration, like their improved public speaking skills. At this point, Thomas leans in and asks something a little different. Okay, switching topics for a second, what about the people? Have you made any friends yet? Or is it still mostly work colleagues? Maya nods enthusiastically. Actually, yes. There's a woman in my building, her name is Priya, and she's become like a mentor/friend. For instance, she's the one who showed me the best coffee shops. She helped me figure out the metro system eventually, and she even invited me to her family's dinner last month. See how this example is a little longer, almost like a mini list within one bigger example? Sometimes a single signal phrase like, for instance, introduces not just one small detail, but several related details, all supporting the same point, which in this case is how helpful and kind Priya has been. Tomas smiles warmly. That's really sweet. It's amazing how one good friend can make a new place feel like home. Maya nods, her eyes a little misty. It really is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still miss my old friends like crazy. I miss you, obviously. But having someone like Priya here has made such a difference. Thomas reaches across the table and squeezes her hand. I'm really proud of you. You know that? Moving somewhere completely new, alone, and building a whole life from scratch? That takes guts. Maya smiles, blinking back a little emotion. Thanks. It means a lot hearing that from you. Now, let's pause the story here for just a moment, because I want to walk you through something. Up until now, in this single conversation, Maya and Thomas used quite a few different example signaling expressions. Let's think back to them together. There was, let's say, used when Maya first hinted that something might be a bit of a challenge. There was like, used casually in the middle of a sentence as a soft bridge into a specific story. There was for one thing, used when introducing the first of possibly several reasons. There was take, something, for instance, a slightly more structured phrase for introducing a clear, specific example. There was, for example, probably the most classic, most textbook version. But you noticed here it was used in a very natural, unforced way. There was, picture this, a vivid, imaginative way of inviting the listener into a scene, and there was, say, for example, a more casual spoken variation. All of these do basically the same job. They tell the listener, hey, pay attention, I'm about to give you a specific case that supports what I just said in general. But each one has a slightly different flavor, a different feeling, a different level of formality. This is exactly why simply memorizing, for example, isn't enough if your goal is to really understand native speakers. You need your ear trained to catch all these different versions because real people, in real conversations, switch between them constantly, often without even realizing it. Think about your own first language for a second. Don't you have several different ways of saying, for example, too? Probably more casual ones you use with friends, and more formal ones you might use in a work meeting. English is exactly the same. All right, let's get back to Maya and Thomas, because their conversation isn't over yet, and there's a bit more emotion coming, plus a few more example signals for you to catch. After that quiet, sweet moment holding hands, Thomas clears his throat a little and changes the subject again. So, tell me honestly, do you regret the move? Even a little? Maya takes a deep breath before answering. There are moments, sure. Like last week, I had this really lonely Sunday. It was raining, I didn't have any plans, and I just sat in my apartment thinking about how everyone back home was probably having dinner together without me. Thomas's face softens. I'm sorry. That sounds really hard. Maya continues, her voice steadier now. But then I think about the bigger picture. Take my career, for example. I've grown more in 6 months here than I did in 3 years at my old job. Or take my independence. I've learned to fix things myself, cook for myself properly, even fix a leaky faucet last week, believe it or not. Thomas laughs, genuinely impressed. You fixed a faucet? I can barely change a light bulb without help. Maya grins, clearly proud. I watched like 5 different videos and just went for it. It actually worked. Notice something interesting in that last bit. Maya used like again, but this time it wasn't exactly introducing a formal example. It was more of a filler word showing the approximate number of videos she watched. This is another really important thing to understand about spoken English. The word like is incredibly flexible. Sometimes it signals a clear example, like when she said like last week, referring to a specific moment. Other times, it's more of a soft filler, almost meaningless on its own, just adding a casual, relaxed tone. Learning to tell the difference takes practice, and honestly, the biggest tip I can give you is this. Don't worry about analyzing every single like perfectly. Just get used to hearing it constantly in casual English, and over time, your brain will naturally sort out which use is which. Thomas looks at his friend with real admiration. You've changed, you know, in a good way. You seem more sure of yourself. Maya smiles, a little shy. Thank you. I think this whole experience, all of it, the hard stuff and the good stuff, it's taught me so much about who I actually am when nobody familiar is around to lean on. There's a comfortable silence for a moment, the kind of silence old friends can share without it feeling awkward. Then Thomas grins and breaks it. Okay, enough emotional talk for one afternoon. Let's go find that taco truck before it closes. They both stand up, gather their things, and head out into the rainy street together, laughing about something Thomas says under his breath. And that's where we'll leave Maya and Thomas for today, walking off into their evening. friendship stronger than ever, even with an entire city and months of distance between their old life and her new one. Now, let's take a moment to really lock in what we just practiced, because listening once is good, but reviewing actively is what turns passive understanding into real, usable skill. Throughout that conversation, I want you to try, right now, pausing if you need to, and see if you can remember at least 4 different phrases Maya or Thomas used to introduce an example. Take a second. Think about it. Did you get, for example? Great. Did you get, for instance? Perfect. What about, let's say, or say, for example? Those two are very similar and both showed up. And don't forget, picture this, which added that vivid, imaginative touch to one of Maya's stories. If you caught most of these, that's fantastic progress. If you only caught 1 or 2, don't worry at all. That's completely normal. And it just means we listen again. Maybe a second time. Maybe a third time tomorrow, until it starts feeling automatic. Let's also practice actively producing some of these ourselves, because listening comprehension and speaking ability grow together. They support each other. Try finishing these sentences out loud, right now, in your own words. First one. This city has so many great parks. Take, for example, ... And you finish it with a real park you know, or an imaginary one if you're just practicing. Go ahead, say it out loud. Second one, learning English has taught me a lot about patience. Like ... And again, complete it with your own honest example. Third one, try using picture this to describe a memory from your own life. Maybe a trip, maybe a funny moment with a friend. Anything real to you. The goal isn't perfection here. The goal is just building the habit of using these natural example signaling phrases until they start feeling like second nature rather than something you have to think hard about. Let's move now into a slightly different scene, still connected by feeling, but showing you these expressions in a completely different context. Because part of really mastering this skill is hearing these signals used across different situations, different tones, different types of relationships. This time, imagine a workplace setting. Picture a small marketing agency and 2 co-workers, Daniela and Marcus, sitting in a meeting room during a short break between presentations. Daniela is a bit more senior, and Marcus is newer to the company, maybe 3 months in. Let's listen in. Marcus taps his pen nervously against his notebook. Honestly, I'm still trying to figure out this company's communication style. It's different from where I used to work. Daniela smiles reassuringly. That makes sense. Every workplace has its own culture. What's been confusing, specifically? Marcus thinks for a moment. Well, for one, everyone here seems to prefer messaging over email, even for important stuff. Daniela nods immediately. Oh yeah, that's very true here. Take our team lead, for instance. He almost never checks email, but if you message him directly, he replies within minutes. There it is again. Take someone, for instance. This time applied to a person rather than a general topic, showing you how flexible this structure really is. It works whether you're giving an example of a place, a thing, an idea, or even a specific person's behavior. Marcus continues, clearly relieved to be talking this through. That's good to know, actually. What about meetings? Are they usually this quick, or was today unusual? Daniela laughs a little. Today was actually short, believe it or not. Normally, they run long. Like last Tuesday, our meeting was supposed to be 30 minutes and ended up being almost 2 hours. Marcus groans dramatically, and Daniela laughs harder. I know, I know. But honestly, most of the time it's productive. Not just people talking for the sake of talking. For example, last week's long meeting actually solved a huge problem with one of our biggest clients. Marcus raises an eyebrow, curious now. Oh yeah? What kind of problem? Daniela leans in slightly, lowering her voice a bit, like she's sharing something a little exciting. Okay, picture this. The client wanted a complete rebrand in under 2 weeks, which is basically impossible under normal circumstances. Again, picture this, inviting Marcus and inviting you, the listener, into a specific, vivid scenario. Marcus's eyes widen. 2 weeks? For a full rebrand? That does sound impossible. Daniela nods. Right? So, during that long meeting, the whole team basically restructured our entire workflow just for this one project. Everyone took on extra tasks. We canceled other smaller meetings that week. All of it. Marcus looks genuinely impressed. Wow. Did it work out? Daniela smiles proudly. It did. The client loved it. Honestly, it's one of the proudest moments I've had here. Marcus is quiet for a second, thinking, before he asks something a little more personal. Can I ask you something? Do you ever feel like it's too much? Like the pressure, the long hours sometimes? Daniela's expression softens, becoming more thoughtful, more real. Sometimes, yeah. Take last month, for example. I worked almost every weekend on one particular project, and by the end, I was completely drained. Marcus nods sympathetically. That sounds exhausting. Daniela continues, her voice a little quieter now. It was. But here's the thing. When I look back at moments like that, moments that felt impossible at the time, take the client rebrand we just talked about. For instance, those are actually the moments I'm proudest of. The hard stuff, weirdly, becomes the stuff you remember most fondly later. Marcus seems to really absorb that, nodding slowly. That's a really good way to look at it, honestly. I think I needed to hear that today. Daniela smiles warmly at him. We've all been the new person before, trust me. It gets easier. And hey, if you ever feel stuck or confused about something, whether it's small, like which app to use for messaging, or big, like handling client pressure, just ask. That's literally what I'm here for. Marcus smiles, clearly comforted. Thanks, Daniela. I really appreciate that. They both stand up as someone pops their head into the room to say the next presentation is starting in 5 minutes, and the scene closes there. Two co-workers, one a bit more experienced, sharing something real between the busy moments of a regular workday. Let's pause again and reflect on what just happened in that second scene, because I noticed you probably caught even more this time, since your ear is starting to adjust. In this conversation between Daniela and Marcus, we heard, for one, take, someone, for instance, like, used both casually and as a specific time marker. For example, picture this, and then that lovely repeated moment near the end where Daniela used take, something, for instance, referring back to their earlier story about the rebrand project. This repetition matters because in real conversations, people often circle back to an earlier example to make a new point, connecting different parts of the conversation together. That's actually a fairly advanced listening skill, tracking an example across different parts of a conversation, not just recognizing it the first time it's mentioned. Now here's something I really want you to think about, something that goes a little deeper than just memorizing phrases. Understanding how speakers signal examples isn't just about vocabulary, it's about understanding the structure of ideas in real time, while someone is speaking to you, without any pause button, without any subtitles. When you're in a real conversation, whether it's with a coworker, a new friend, or even just listening to a podcast during your commute, these signal words are like little road signs. They tell your brain, hey, pay close attention right now, because a specific, concrete detail is coming that will help you understand the bigger point being made. If you miss these signs, you might still understand the general topic, but you'll miss the color, the detail, the proof behind the idea, and honestly, a lot of the personality and warmth of the conversation lives right there, in those specific little examples people choose to share. Let's do one more short practice round together before we start wrapping up, because I want this lesson to really stick with you, not just float away the moment the video ends. I'm going to read a few short lines, and I want you to listen closely for the example signal in each one. Ready? First line. This restaurant has amazing options for vegetarians. Take their mushroom risotto, for instance. It's incredible. Did you catch it? Take, for instance. Second line. I've been trying to save money lately. Like, I stopped buying coffee every morning and started making it at home. That casual like right there, doing its job as a natural example bridge. Third line. Learning a new language comes with unexpected challenges. Say, for example, understanding jokes or cultural references that don't translate directly. There's say, for example, doing exactly what we talked about earlier. If you got all three, seriously, that's wonderful progress, and I want you to feel proud of that, because this kind of listening skill genuinely takes real, consistent practice to build. And if you didn't catch all three right away, that's completely fine, too. Rewind, listen again, maybe even pause and repeat the sentences out loud yourself. Repetition really is where fluency quietly grows, even when it doesn't feel like it in the moment. Before we close things out today, let's return one more time to Maya and Thomas, because I want to leave you with a warmer, fuller picture of where their evening went after they left that little coffee shop. Picture this. It's now later that same evening, the rain has finally stopped, and the streets are shining a little under the street lights. Maya and Thomas are sitting on a bench outside, paper wrappers from tacos scattered on the small table beside them, both of them laughing about something ridiculous that happened while they tried to find the taco truck earlier. Thomas leans back, looking up at the sky. I have to say, this trip has been exactly what I needed. Like, work has been so stressful lately, and honestly, just being here with you, talking, laughing, it's reminded me what actually matters. Maya smiles softly, watching her old friend. I feel the same way. You know, for a while I was so focused on proving myself here, proving that I made the right choice moving, that I forgot how nice it is just to slow down for an evening. Tomas turns to her. For what it's worth, I think you made the right choice. Watching you talk about your life here today, your job, Priya, even the ridiculous metro story, you seem, I don't know, alive. Like really alive, not just surviving. Maya's eyes fill with tears again, but this time they're clearly happy ones. Thank you for saying that. It means more than you know. They sit together in comfortable silence for a while, the kind that only exists between people who've known each other a long time, before Thomas finally breaks it with a soft laugh. Okay, one more taco before we head back? Maya laughs, wiping her eyes. Obviously. Let's go. And on that warm, simple, human note, will leave their story for today. Two old friends, reconnected, a little wiser, a little more grateful, walking off together into a city that's slowly starting to feel like home. So, what did we really learn today, beyond just following a nice story? We learned that native English speakers use a whole toolbox of expressions to introduce examples, not just the one phrase most textbooks teach you. We heard, for example, for instance, like, let's say, for example, take something, for instance, and picture this, all used naturally, casually, sometimes even stacked together in the same sentence, exactly the way real people actually talk. And more importantly than just recognizing these words, we practiced actually listening for them in context, tracking how they connect bigger ideas to smaller, specific details, and how those details are usually where the real emotion, the real meaning of a story, actually lives. If this episode helped you even a little bit, even if you only caught 2 or 3 of these signal phrases today that you didn't notice before, that's genuine progress, and I want you to give yourself credit for that. Learning a language isn't about perfect understanding overnight. It's about these small, steady wins that build up slowly into real fluency over time. Now here's what I'd love for you to do next. If you enjoyed practicing with Maya, Thomas, Daniela, and Marcus today, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow and reach more learners just like you. If you haven't subscribed yet to English in Fluency, now's a perfect moment. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we release new listening practice episodes regularly, and each one is designed to gently push your comprehension a little further than the last. And honestly, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Tell me one example signal phrase from today's episode that was new to you. Or maybe share your own example using one of these phrases, something from your day, your city, your job, anything at all. I read every comment, and honestly, seeing your progress and your practice attempts genuinely makes my day. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today, practicing, listening, and growing your English just a little bit more. I'm Alex. This has been English in Fluency, and I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep listening closely. Keep noticing these little signals in everything you watch and hear. And remember, every conversation you understand a little better is proof that you're moving forward. Take care, and I'll talk to you very soon.